Hello. Hey, how are you guys doing? Thought I'd stop back by again and share a few thoughts that nobody really asked for and seems to be completely contrary to everything else I've been seeing and reading online. It's been very strange to see what's happened the last few weeks. Seems like pretty much every critic and every fan really hated Joker Part 2. I was also ready to go hate Joker Part 2, so I went to go watch it for myself and see if it was really as bad as the box office and critical reception and fan response would have me believe. But as much as I was surprised to actually see it for myself, it's really not a bad movie at all. It's actually a pretty good movie, and it's definitely way better than the first Joker movie. I never really liked the first Joker movie anyway. Just overall seemed like a bad Taxi Driver ripoff. I mean, in general, just a bad Martin Scorsese ripoff. So, coming into Joker 2, I figured it'd probably be another bad ripoff. But it was actually a very interesting, visually engaging, emotionally provocative film that I wish more people would have watched in the theater. It's pretty much the antithesis of the first Joker movie, and that may be where all the problems lie. When you look at audience expectation and the subversion of audience expectation, I think what we've learned recently is audiences are only going to respond in the context of what they believe your film was going into it. No one is trying to engage with the text of any film on its own merit. There's all this outside baggage that every viewer brings to whatever they watch, and it colors the film. It seems like discussions around film are no longer about the quality of the movie itself, but more about how the movie made you feel in relation to how you felt going into that movie. There's really not a conversation going on between a director or a team of creatives under the auspices of a director and an audience. There's an assumption that the audience is telling the director what to create, and if you don't abide by those rules and give the audience what they want in the way they asked for it, then you're just going to be put out the pasture. You're going to be rejected. Looking at what's happened here with Joker 2 makes me think about another superhero sequel, another R-rated superhero sequel, and that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, that's the third movie in, again, an R-rated Marvel franchise. I think it's important to pause here and see where these two films diverged. All of the fan reactions to Joker 2 essentially boiled down to hating the movie because it was an FU to the fans, or an attack on the fans, a rejection of the fans, a rejection of the first film's success. And I really don't see that at all. I really see more of a rejection of fans in Deadpool 3. I think Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't really like its fans. There are jokes, but they all seem to be at the expense of fans. There are references to past characters and story arcs, but it's all very contrived, and none of it has any emotional resonance outside of what we as audience members bring to the movie based on our outside expectations and past experiences with other media. engaging with Deadpool and Wolverine on its own terms, out of the context of other Marvel movies, is very strange. It's not really a work of art on its own. And even with the other Marvel movies to support it, it's not really a work of art standing on the shoulders of other products. It is just a product, completely anonymous, completely boring and devoid of any real identity. There's no interesting action set pieces. Everything that's discussed is extremely repetitive. And it seems like the movie is kind of cyclically treading water until it's lasted the requisite 90 minutes of film has to last. Or in this case, 2 hours of film has to last, so you can feel like you've gotten your money's worth out of the whole process of having to go into a movie theater and pay for overly expensive tickets and overly expensive popcorn and sit down and devote your undivided attention to the screen. And I think Joker 2 is more thought-provoking. It's more emotionally honest. It's more emotionally resonant. There are sequences in Joker 2 that are meant to challenge the audience in a positive way. I don't think there's any kind of condescension to fans. I don't think Joker 2 hates its fans. I think Joker 2 is trying to make people think. I think Joker 2 is trying to be interesting, trying to be engaging. I think it's trying to be something original and divert from audience expectations instead of subverting them. Because a subversion would be to not discuss what happened in the last Joker movie, potentially come up with some kind of scenario where Joker is just sedated. They bring up some kind of new Joker character. He takes over. The mantle is passed. Todd Phillips had mentioned in the past that this wasn't the true Joker. So creating that identity, or maybe even focusing the film entirely on Harley Quinn and making it a musical starring Lady Gaga. That would be a subversion of expectations. Joker 2 did not subvert expectations. It gave you the next logical step in the story it began to tell in the first film. The musical aspects are used very sparingly and intelligently. I don't believe there was any malice towards fans. I think there was just an attempt to understand the Joker. And I think the fans were meant to be Catherine Keener. She was our eyes, kind of our window into this world. We sympathize with the Joker, but at the end of the day, we have to let him go. We have to accept that his decisions are his own. And we know at some level he's misunderstood and means well, but he's also incredibly dangerous. Contrasting that with Deadpool and Wolverine, there's nothing to take away from that film. There's nothing to think about after you've walked out of the theater. There's no engaging deconstruction of the human condition. There's really no allegory that you can use in your day-to-day life. There's no food for thought. There's nothing to disagree with. Deadpool and Wolverine is meant to be agreeable, meant to go by fast and easy. You're just supposed to digest it, accept it, and move along with your day. And I think that's the major problem with superhero movies right now. There used to be films like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 that had some kind of underlying point, some kind of message, some kind of moral, some kind of hope, energy that could carry you into your day, carry you into the rest of your year, give you things to meditate on and reflect on, amazing visuals, engaging action, stakes for the character. And those stakes are there in Joker 2. It's literally life or death. And some of that flippancy with which Arthur interacts with the jury is a put on. It's a mask. He's trying to hide his insecurity. I think it's very powerful, and I think the film is actually worth multiple viewings to pull apart exactly what Joaquin Phoenix is doing with his performance at specific points in the film and in the action. It wasn't a slow film to me at all. I know that was a big point of contention for critics, but Deadpool and Wolverine was much slower to me. Again, it seemed like it was very repetitive. It moved in circles. You move into a wasteland area, and then you just stay there. There's really not anything accomplished. Deadpool and Wolverine argue, but when you contrast it with even a film like Logan by James Mangold, there's a much better emotional connection to the audience. They are relying upon you seeing the past X-Men movies, but you don't have to see them. You can still understand the stakes and the emotional resonance of what Logan is going through with his daughter or his clone in the context of that film. You can understand what it's like caring for an elderly relative within the context of this film. There's some powerful points about how you navigate interacting with children, how you navigate interacting with your parents, what happens as you grow older and you gain responsibilities you didn't sign up for. Overall, I think Joker 2 was really good. I think it gave people something to think about. I think it was powerful. I think it was visually arresting. I'm not really a big fan of Joaquin Phoenix's performance here or in the first movie, but I do think for the story that he's in, he does service the plot well. And I think Lady Gaga was fine. Maybe, like other critics have said, maybe there should have been more. But I think this was needed. I think Todd Phillips could have just been a copycat, and that could have been the end of it. And then he just never made another Joker movie. But he decided to take the next step, dig deeper into the character. And it's a shame fans were turned off by reviews. I don't think the movie deserved to flop as hard as it did. It's definitely not as bad as a Madam Web or a Morbius or a Venom 2. So I guess we'll see what happens. Love to hear anybody else's thoughts on the films. I'm hoping this begins a conversation. You guys can let me know how you felt. Thought Joker 2 was great. It was much better than I expected. You guys let me know what you thought. All right. Talk to you later.